Hello, Music Multiverse listeners, and welcome to Beyond Your Radio's Unknown Sundays. It's time to talk about a band or artist or something in the multiverse of music that is maybe relatively unknown to most of the masses. It was missed. Our watchers, collectors, listeners might be interested in a rabbit hole to go down, whether it's the past or the present. And please remember that this is an extension of our article section on beyondyourradio.com. All the full detail is there for me. There's links to all the albums I mentioned, the bands, the people who produced, whatever it might be. And this Sunday, there's a hell of a lot of those links because we're talking about Unkle, James Lavelle's Unkle, and the men and women from Unkle and all its collaborative process and unique history. The year was 1999. I'm browsing a record store in Pittsford, New York. Fantastic Records, which I frequented quite a bit. Very good record store. A lot of CDs, cassettes, even vinyl had been maybe beyond the push out, and I definitely sold my soul to the CD section at that point. And as you can see, so CD is my choice. So in this particular day in Pittsford, I am looking through what is basically a used throwaway type of bin where things just don't fit collectively, or maybe they don't have the right cover, something's cracked, something's missing. Maybe it's a promo copy. Not all promo copies get in there, but this particular promo, I mean, these are thin pieces. You can't, this is ugly for a collector. There's no backing on it. It's just the front. But I saw this and I said, Jesus, what is Aliens and Unkle, Unkle? That's pretty cool. The name of the album looked like Psyence Fiction. And I'm like, well, hey, I'm give this a shot. I was like, was it $2, $3? I'm stealing this from the record store, basically, right? And then I'm looking at this, and I know that this is literally unreal, and that's one of the tracks on here, that I get to get this and drive away with it. And the minute I put it in the car, I'm completely blown away by the trip hop, the DJism, and then the guest appearances, right? Here you get Richard Ashcroft, you get Tom York, you get Ian Brown and Mike D from the Beastie Boys. That's only a few people on here. There's more than that too. Catchy, hooky, groovy. It's got everything, right? So you have to remember technically that this band came about by James Lavelle and his record label that he owned in '92. Basically Mo-Wax was the name of it, like Mo-Wax, more vinyl. I mean, I'm sure he didn't realize that vinyl was going to have a problem later, but he had DJ Shadow, he had DJ Crush, I think. Yeah. Dr. Octagon, which is pretty cool. And Black Alicious on there. So, and of course, Unkle. So the men from Unkle, as they were in 1994, got to record something, but it wouldn't be until later when this comes out that I get to hear them, and this is where we wind up being, right? So I get hooked on this, but I can't. They don't do an album yet until 2003 when Never Never Land comes out, and beautiful box set, which you know kind of gets missed sometimes in early bands. I mean, why would you put something out like this? But he was always very careful about all of their sets are beautiful. I'll get to some of them, but there's a lot of artwork. And of course it's double disc. So they spare no expense, and they spare no time in the amount of music. There's over an hour of it. So here comes Never Never Land, and now DJ Shadow is sort of not involved in the mix anymore as he was in this first record and into the second record. I'm not sure if DJ Shadow was part of this, but you get Jarvis Cocker, Brian Eno, Josh Holmes. You get sampling of Black Sabbath, Hawkwind, even Joy Division, and more. So there's a lot of things that are being cool with Richard File being added, and with Richard File being added, there's also this rabbit hole you could explore with him because he produced Duke, the Duke Spirit. He produced another. Oh no, he was in the band We Fell to Earth, which from 2009 once it. So there's some things for there to go down, and of course after Never Never Land comes War Stories, and again we keep with the box set thing. This is it slides out. It's a lot heavier. This was completely hardbound. Now some of the gluing is not as good as you'd like it to be, but by God, this is some that whole booklet again and stuff. This is War Stories, and this particular album does the same thing. that the others have done.
Tooth and claw we fight into this endless night. Yeah, lately I know that I've been crawling.
Adding more and more particular artists to the mix. And some of them again, right? So back to the next go round for Unkle, which winds up being end titles, stories for film, and then Where Did the Night Fall, which were released in 2008 and 2010. This brings in Gavin Clark, who's a relatively unknown in the mix, but he really fits the process being maintained by Unkle standards, making him another man from Unkle. He died from breathing complications of alcoholism in 2015. But again, Josh Holmes, we had the Black Angels for a psychedelic spin. We've got Mark Lanigan. I mean, how do you not have Mark Lanigan, right? That's a blending of emotions and stuff. And not to mention, during this time, Unkle got some street cred for redoing the X-Files theme song by Mark Snow, which wound up being in one of the films. So again, interesting material from the War Story sessions and the overall DJ trip hop instrumentalism and looping creativity marked during all these recordings, which probably isn't an easy process. So they get to do not only end title stories for film, but they get end titles redux. So you get another version of that. So again, it even mixes a little bit of ambient in some cases. They are a remarkably unique contributor in the expansive genre, but this would not be the end of the expansiveness, as James comes back to self-creativity on The Road Part 1. While this still includes Mark Lanigan again, and why wouldn't you? He's just terrific, tormented songwriting soul. He adds Twiggy from Marilyn Manson, and not to mention Trent Moliere from an indie rock perspective, as well as some dynamic performers like Eska and Keaton Henson, which might be another rabbit hole for any one of us to discover. The Road Part 2 happens about 2 years later, but I think it's more of like the mixing and blending of takes and outtakes prior to those sessions. So it's basically Unkle, but mixtapes, as James Lavelle talks about a lot. So this kind of moves to where we are today with Unkle. And you enter the series Ronin. There's Ronin 1 and Ronin 2. And both Ronin 1 and 2 both have instrumental albums as well. Those instrumental albums get you a perspective, a whole new process and of the versions, the ambient, the DJ impressions, and how the vocals carry some weight, but also how it blends for the instrumentations that happen. This happened during the COVID breakdown, meltdown, trapped, anxiety, whatever you want to call it. And these albums come up with a club mix that's extraordinary. You're featuring the likes of Michael Kiwanuka's in here. You got Mink. Big Pink is in again. They got the guy from the Editors. Tom Smith is in there. The Duke Spirits, Leela Moss is in, who collaborated on the albums prior. Cullum Finn and Annie Harrison, who'd also been on some of those mixes prior. Now, there are weighty and requited mixes, club mixes. This isn't all boom, boom, boom kind of stuff. It's truly unique in how it's put together, and it's another experience altogether. And I find it to be light in the darkness kind of experiences, which are unique to the overall catalog if you look back at the past. And that is why I say you can't start with this catalog now I would start from the very beginning and I would go to Psyence Fiction. Psyence Fiction is where you should start to get the appreciation for that year, that style, and what James Lavelle is doing with DJ Shadow, and then moving on to all the other men and women from Unkle that wind up being collaborators in this overall. Now, as to what comes next for James Lavelle, it seems to be able to collaborate with any kind of unique artist. So I'm just going to throw out some names of people I would love to see that collaboration with, as if he's really reading or watching this. I'm sure he's not. But hey, I can dream, right? So I would love to see if he would do anything with, like, with Rob Dickinson of Catherine Wheel. That seems to fit really well. And what about Guy Garvey from Elbow? That seems like a fit. Kate Bush is a simple one. Hope Sandoval from Mazzy Star. Maybe even the band Red Snapper throwing in there. They kind of have a similar thing. And what about going on the metal side of things, or that metal pop thing going on with Sleep Token? That would be amazing. And then I even look back to someone as simple in piano playing and provocative classical and alternative with Sarah Celine or a Tori Amos, maybe. If you have never heard, you need to. Afterwards, I assure you, you'll be saying, Unkle, Unkle, Unkle. Albums from Unkle, and those in my collection. Psyence Fiction from 1998. Never Neverland 2003. War Stories 2007. End Titles, Stories from Film 2008. And the End Titles Redux 2008. Where Did the Night Fall from 2010. The rest of the albums here I do not have, but I'm still looking to obtain them. The Road Part 1, which was 2017. The Road Part 2, 2019. Ronin 1 and those instrumental albums, that was 2021 and 2022. Ronin 2 and those instrumental album, 2022 as well. There are plenty of remixes to go to, EPs, and The Answer. One of the EPs is called The Answer, but you can go to Unkle and the Heritage Orchestra live at Union Chapel, which is a fantastic recording. All of these are way over their usual timetable that you would experience from an EP or something of that status. Did you know Unkle? What was your impression? Leave us a comment or two. Like, and please, as always, subscribe to the channel if you have not already. We're on the web at beyondyourradio.com, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, YouTube. It's all about bands, albums, artists, any genre, anything we get our hands on. Join us next week for a bunch of kids and a frog on the cover. Go Beyond Your Radio with us, a real music appreciation channel. And until next time, happy listening.